resources and tools now than we did even like 5 years ago. Asset repositories like OData, Tamriel Data, they transformed the modding scene. MWC Lua and now with OpenMW Lua, there's a lot of these technological hurdles that the community has surpassed, and it allows for a lot of new development.
Yeah, we keep getting new toys to upgrade our old toys.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, and just looking at mods from I was playing a mod from 2017 just the other day, and the quality difference, I mean, it was a good mod, but the average quality difference from like 2017, which was just 7 years ago, to 2024, it's insane.
Would you say that, because if I think about Skyrim modding, I don't think that I would be able to do much, because it takes a good background in programming with Papyrus and a good background in programming and computer science in general. I think Morrowind, you don't need any. You can just have a look at the construction set and do your thing. But would you say that over the last few years, Morrowind modders have become more professional? Maybe that's not the right word, but like more professional. I'm gonna go with that. I don't have a better word right now.
I do think the common asset repositories like data does allow for easier, higher quality standards, I guess, because the assets in data, that's fantastic, and that gives you a good starting base to really build a good mod. But yeah, it does seem like the average modder is just way more professional than they used to be. Like, I remember the crazy, wild days of 2003, 2004, when there was like 200 mods getting released in a week, but a lot of those, very quick edits, very dirty edits, obviously. It was kind of a mess back then.
Yeah, I was going to say that, taking from the novice side, I think the accumulated knowledge from all you guys, you veterans, is also creating a much more friendly environment for people like me and others to sort of join. And before the Mastery Month, honestly, I mean, there's this whole accumulated knowledge in take last year's Madness, for example. I was able to join Melchior Dark and his team, and all of them had so much experience, and it made it so comfortable and so easy. I can imagine, like in the days of the GOAT, Abbott, like DarkElfGuy was saying back in the day, I was shocked when I heard about what you guys had to put up with before the CSSC came about. I thought that things like the search engine was a pretty old thing, and turns out it isn't. It's just a couple of years. So yeah, absolutely, the accumulated knowledge and experience, I think, plays a huge role in this.
I think
definitely.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think the community simply is getting older, though we do get fresh blood, but we're wiser, probably. We're a lot more keen on sharing things to make a better mod rather than make a mod for ourselves. We're wiser, generally speaking.
Yes. And you've always been very generous, which I think is another factor that sort of segues beautifully into this last day of the event. Because unfortunately, Melchior Dark today, his schedule has been hell. But it all started with him, actually. Melchior Dark was ground zero for this whole thing. I think it bears sharing the full story, right, Danae, with everybody else, because it is a beautiful tale, and it all started after Madness.
Tell us a story, please.
It started after Madness, and me talking to him about shyness, about a couple of people approaching me through private messages, feeling a little awkward, out of place. I'm 45 years old, and a couple people older than me, and just not knowing how to start, feeling inadequate, whatever. And I was joking with Melchior Dark, because some people, I don't know, they're not exactly afraid of him, just maybe, especially after the events of last night. Can you imagine, for a person that is new, and everybody abused the ping everyone, but if you don't put it into context, you may confuse that with just being respectful, approaching people, asking questions, which is not a problem at all. And a lot of people saying, oh, but I'm afraid of ask this or A, B, or C to Milky or Dark. And we started talking about this. And because of my background, which is very similar with Danae's background, we started talking about education. But at the very beginning, the sort of initial drive was try to approach shyer people, and try to help them break out of their molds. Which back then last year, Melchior said, I don't think this is exactly. There's only so much that we can do to help people. And he was absolutely right. G7 called that as well. But the thing that I wanted to say is that me as a novice, just having a chat with Melchior Dark, and we knew each other for a couple of months, he immediately jumped on the idea and he said, I will never forget this phrase. Let me talk to Danae, G7, and a couple of others, and let's see what we can come up with. And then Mastery Month was born. And I was really sort of not shocked because I already knew him as a solid human being, but I think the positive surprise element was how many veterans sort of jumped on board. And as much as brand new novices weren't all that much in the event, but the effect that it had on mentors breaking out of their shells and doing presentations for the first time, Random Pal, Massive Juice, Sealoff, everybody else, and mid-level modders just getting very excited and wanting information, I think turned out to be the most beautiful thing of this event, regardless of how many actual rookies published a mod, because like we said, there's only so much we can do to help people break out of their shells. And so I just wanted to say for the record that we owe a lot to Melchior Dark, Danae, G7, Morrowind, like everybody, you guys did everything for us. And on behalf of us rookies, I am extremely grateful for that. I truly am. And all the mentors, they were absolutely amazing. All of them without exception.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you there. I think Ground Zero was you. And for all the veterans, I don't know if I think of myself as a veteran, but when you've been modding for a while, you forget the perspective of somebody who's just getting started. And you brought that. And I think that's why we were really excited about the idea of creating something like Mastery Month, because this was doing something for, I don't know, our old selves, the things that maybe we would have liked. And so Ground Zero was you. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I just have to lay that on the shoulders of, and they're here actually, of the people in the modding OpenNW project. My brother from another mother, Johnny Hostel, Sector, Gonzo, everybody else, because for those of you that don't know, that project was what brought me in, and sort of the vibe in there, the generosity, and sort of, they were the ones that introduced me to this. And the whole thing started with us trying to make a patch for Mama AO Awakened. A bunch of people being rude to Melchior on the Nexus page and whatever, and said, okay, let's try to work this out. And the first time that I approached him, and that's how everything started. But I mean, there isn't a phrase, Danae, that it has a proper version in English, and I keep saying this: attitude reflects leadership, Captain. So whatever I did, it was only because I was reflecting the attitude of Johnny, Sector, you, like everybody else, Remember Mirror last night? Just absolutely cool, in control. So many of us take these things for granted. I was freaking out. I'm an old guy. I mean, relatively old, middle-aged, but I never seen something like that, right? And I was just watching pornographic GIFs, and I'm like, oh, and Murloc was just zeroing in on the situation, in control, and it may sound silly, but I don't think it is. And it was 2 a.m. for you, almost, so. Yeah, it's that sort of small thing. The same goes for this beautiful man here to my left, DarkElfGuy. I wrote this to him once. I don't want him to ever think that we take him for granted, because we don't. He is a gem. You both are our bedrocks, and we don't want you to feel like we take you for granted. Moving forward, hopefully you know this in your heart. We love you, and we're very grateful for everything you do. Riding shotgun for you, Danae, taught me a lot. There's a lot of hard work that goes into these things. A lot. It's not easy to put up something like this. I was just starting to study the modathon, and I cannot imagine the amount of work the DarkElfGuy goes through just to put that on. So hats off, absolutely.
Well, actually, that could be a good segue. I want to go back to the things we can do for the community, for people who want to join. But since you bring up Modathon, Dag, do you want to tell us a little bit about the event, what it is all about? A lot of people have the conviction that it's a competition because we do a lot of competition, but they couldn't be more wrong. Can you tell us a little bit about Modathon, which is probably the next modding event?
Sure. Though, should the next modding event be the Winter Mod Jam? Is that happening this year?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll complete the story that Herd started in October. I was thinking about the Mod Jam, and there's 2 of them every year, and I'm happy to run them. But I really wanted, and guys in the chat, I definitely want your input on that. I was thinking, why have 2 mod jams when we could have mod jam and something else that is completely different from the things that we already have? So I talked with a number of people, and we came up with a new modding event called Double Trouble, and that was going to be now. But then came along the idea for Mastery Month, and I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is more important. So now January was all about Mastery Month. If there is something organized, it will be in March. But I don't want to overload people. Like November was pretty hectic with Madness. Then January we have Mastery Month. Maybe we need a bit of time to work on our things without having a competition. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a mod jam or something else. But we do know that main Modathon is going to happen. So let's talk about that.
All right. Yes, so the May Modathon will again be May 1st through June 2nd. It is a free-for-all. We say competition, but it's not really a competition in the competition sense of the word. There are winners in the Modathon. We have, I think it's 11, 12 categories of mods, and basically, we know the most endorsed mod in that category at the end of June. That was released for the Modathon. They usually get a prize, like a special achievement badge, and some free games and all that. Otherwise, it is free for all. It is not themed. I've noticed that there has been some confusion there. Some people think it's a themed competition, but it's not. There are themed challenges that have additional, like, special achievement badges, but that's about it, really. So, we have weekly random drawing prizes. We got achievements, which are designed by Melchior. I've been tormenting him with achievement design since 2018, and he does a fantastic job every year. At least I think so.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I got a feeling last year from the Modathon that the weekly themed challenges were pretty popular, and quite a lot of people made mod for these. And I know you always have those numbers right in your head. Were they popular, the optional themed challenges?
Some of them were. I don't have the stats directly in front of me. But it was our second year doing the theme challenges. So I think we started doing that in 2022. So it's a relatively recent phenomenon, and we're hoping to have our themes challenges announced at least a month in advance this year, so people have a bit more time to get started on them. Because, you don't have to start a Modathon mod in May. You can start that at any time.
In that
like
sense,
now.
Yeah. Can I show something on the screen regarding the Modathon, because this is being recorded?
Sure.
And I think for the sake of the novices, this is kind of useful, because I was one that threw the Modathon under the bus, because I thought, just like the Mod Gems and Madness, it was going to be a competition. So I said, okay, it's not for me. But when I actually started to study it, this is something that I put together. These are all the achievements, apart from the secret ones. And like DarkElfGuy was talking about, because the gold achievements came first, I just started looking at them and I'm like, okay, competition. So I sort of stopped reading. But all of these achievements, common achievements, the rare ones, the uncommon ones, they are a pretty cool they present something like a cool challenge. And it's you against yourself, and it's not really against it. So, of course, this here is not going to happen. This is just wishful thinking, but I started having fun assembling achievement combos, right? To see if I can get as many achievements as possible on all of the mods. And that alone got me really, really excited about modding. So it did its job. It's a very effective thing. And I don't know that we need to get out of our way to sort of explain these things because it's already pretty sort of clear. But every chance we have, making a point of saying that I think, honestly, the Modathon is the event for beginners. You can just plan one mod way ahead of time, look at all these achievements and have fun with this. This is a beautiful thing. That's pretty much what it was. I mean, I can stop sharing.
Yeah, no, it's something you can start before, you can start now, you can have started 2 years ago. And yes, it's great for beginners, but honestly, a lot of modders that have got a few mods under their belt go like, okay, this is the opportunity to finish my mod. I'm gonna publish it in May. And that's just the extra little nudge you need to finish your mod, because the last 10% of the mod, that's always the hardest part.
It does work as just an extra incentive, and the achievement badges are a lot of fun. And speaking of, if anyone is still missing their achievement badges from last year, do contact me. It is a lot of work to send those out, and there's a lot of paperwork actually involved in keeping track of all that. So if you're missing it, do let me know.
And I would suggest, Dag, you tell me if it's a good idea or not, but let people write down the achievements they think they're hitting, and that will save you and whoever is helping you so much. Because tracking down if in the mod there is a reference to Redoran or not, that means not only looking at the mod page, but actually installing the mod and playing it and testing it. That's crazy. So I would encourage people to put at the bottom of their page, candidate for this and that achievement.
Now, we've tried to simplify the hidden achievements for exactly that reason, because it is difficult to, especially since there's usually around 200 mods submitted for the main modathon. It's very difficult to go through and play them all.
Yeah, I agree. So, guys, get modding. That's what I'm saying. And I would add that for me, the most fun part, there's the hunt for the achievements, and when you can nail 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 achievements in one mod, you feel super powerful, you feel like a superhero, and that feels great. I also think it is such a golden opportunity to work with someone else, because there's a whole month, there's no pressure, it's not a competition, so it's a great time to reach out to a modder who's done I don't know, models or landscapes that you like. That's what I did. I was like, Katya, please. I have a quest mod and I got the quest, but the island is boring, please. And so we work together on it, and the mod is better. Working for me, that was a very fun thing last year. Working with different people for every single mod, that was great. And I would really encourage you to reach out to the people, to the modders that you like, and say, hey, I have a mod idea, would you like to do that with me? And they might say, no, I'm busy, or no, I'm not taking part, but that's fine.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and we've got a lot of achievements specifically to encourage, cooperation and working together with other modders. Mm-hmm. And, if you're worried about prizes, because there are prizes, I'd like to remind people again that it's not, like a zero-sum game. If your mod gets picked for a random drawing prize, both you and anyone you collaborated with get a prize. We've got plenty of Steam games to give out if that's a concern.
Yeah. The games are nice. The real reward is the banners, having a mod, the excitement of who my mod was picked for a showcase. We love having our mods showcased. That's the simple truth. Right, I think that covers Modathon. I don't know if the chat wanted to say something else on Modathon. I think the formula for Modathon is pretty good, but if you had other observation, remarks, ideas, now is the time to mention it.
While we're giving people time to maybe write something, I want to take the chance that we have DarkElfGuy here, because I actually wanted to sort of take advantage of his experience as a manager of a YouTube channel, so he has his finger in the pulse of the community, so to speak, from YouTube's perspective. During Sealof's workshop, DarkElfGuy, we were sort of joking around the idea that he's the Michael Jordan of dungeons. You call him Dungeon Daddy. And because when we were preparing for this, he was kind of making the point that his success is pretty much blood, sweat, and tears and effort. And it's not that he doesn't have raw talent, because he has an abundance. But there is a sort of comment that sparked the conversation where people sort of watching something like Secrets of the Crystal City and just saying, my God, the mods are becoming increasingly better. And this is having the opposite effect on me. I have less and less courage to take the next step. Is that sort of attitude something that you see regularly or growing in your channel, or is just something sort of random and casual appears here and there?
Well, I can't say I've seen a huge amount of that sort of sentiment. You're talking about people afraid to get into modding because it seems like the quality standard is so high, right?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, I see the occasional comment like that, but, you know, we did used to have the old Let's Mod Morrowind videos, which I'm planning to restart at some point. And, you know, it's not... Like, modding isn't really that difficult. You know, the quality of the mods today... I mean, yes, it took a lot of effort to get to, but theoretically, you know, someone could start today and they could develop those skills in a fairly short amount of time, I think.
Very true.
I agree. Like, taking your mod, Hurdrax, and I'm not saying it was an easy mod to do. It was a clever idea, done simply and properly, and everyone is like, oh my god, the entrance to the cave, they should have been like that from day one. It doesn't take an in-depth knowledge of the Morrowind engine or modding or scripting or any of those skills that we associate with modding. All it takes is looking at your game, playing it, thinking, I don't really like that in Morrowind. Can I improve it? And then do it cleanly, simply. And you have a mod that shot to the hot files on Nexus. I haven't looked at it for a while, but I'm sure it's still there. And it's not like you have to have a PhD in Morrowind modding to have a great mod. It can be simple, like so simple as having a model put together with help of fellow modders, and that is great. That's how I like the mods, with more people helping each other. A good idea, a clean implementation, and you're working on another version of it with more, and that's great. It doesn't take a PhD in Morrowind modding, that's what I'm saying.
Right. But I mean, having said that, Kildozeri and I were talking because I think both me and him published mods, and we got the Master Mentee role, and we got so happy. But
you did.
He expressed the exact same sentiment that I had, which is it was a sobering experience on the other hand. A very sobering experience. My mod couldn't be more simple. Remove 2 objects and include another 2. But this is one thing. But to actually, for example, then I have to take into account mines and caverns. How do I do that? I have to make it compatible with Beautiful Cities of Morrowind. How to go about these things. How to make it clean. How to manage a page. How to not be obnoxious and keep just uploading 1.1, 1.1.5 all the time so that people keep getting updates and spamming and everything. And it was a sobering experience in the sense that when I see something like Secrets of the Crystal City, when I see Ashfall, I'm like, my God, the amount of work that, I mean, that's why I think Sealof sort of nailed it, which you're right in terms of the raw talent. It's not that necessary, but discipline and a little fortitude, absolutely. If you want to put out something that is respectful, Acid Zebra, the developer of ModMapper, which became a staple for me to do research. He was explaining to me how it worked. So now a dirty mod becomes almost borderline disrespectful because that program relies on a clean mod, so it can know precisely which cells are touched by each mod. So just for those that don't know what Mod Mapper is, now we have a tool that we can click anywhere on the map of Tamriel, including Tamriel rebuilt areas, and we can know every single mod on the internet that ever touched that cell. He's covering every single mod on the Nexus, every single mod on ModDB, every single mod still up in the mirrors of Fligarty and Morrowind Modding History, etc. They're all there. He has a GitHub.
Does it check Deviant Arts?
Yeah, and it's just so beautiful, but just again, if you make a slightly dirty reference and you leave it there, your mod is going to flag that cell. So a person doing research will never know if you actually are touching that cell or if it's just a dirty edit. So in that sense, I think, yes, there is something else that goes behind modding if you want it to be actually effective. Which is, my respect for you guys grows in leaps and bounds, and especially after publishing something as simple as changing a grotto entrance.
Yeah, you're actually branching out to another topic that I would love to have a talk later on, which is ethics, just being respectful to the other modders and who is responsible for what. But we're going to keep that for another time. I would like to sum that up, to boil it down to education, I guess. Like,
Amen.
Lots of people, the example of Mod Mapper, it's an amazing tool. How many people know about it? How many people have tried it? Very few. And so right now, I am not upset with people who leave dirty references in their mod, either because they don't know how to clean or they missed it. Gosh, I'm sure I've pushed out some mods with dirty edits. Hopefully now I've cleaned all of them, but it happens. So I'm not upset with the people who leave dirty edits, even though it kind of makes Mod Mapper less useful, and there are other issues with that. It's just a matter of having workshops, tutorials, and being patient enough to repeat multiple times in the troubleshooting channel, for example. This is the tool you can use to clean your mod. This is another tool if you prefer, there is that. You know, it's down to education. It sounds horrible. I know you're like having horrible feedback of flashbacks of school, like education. No, we're here to play a game, not get an education. I'd like to go back to the workshops because that's pretty much about learning things, learning how to mod, and not so much learning, sharing. Because even though I had a workshop, fine, but I've learned so many little things from everybody's workshop. Sometimes, you know, bigger things. I would absolutely love to get your thoughts and your feedback on the workshops, actually. Both from the chat and from DarkElfGuy and Hurdrax. What do you think of having those workshops? What do you think? I don't want to influence your answers. So what are your thoughts on the workshops?
First, brother.
Well, I really like the concept of the workshops. I think it's a great idea that it gives a lot of educational opportunities for people. I mean, I think one of the best ways to learn is to watch someone else do it. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty transformative. Now, people pick up skills. I've only actually seen the one workshop, though. I've been a bit busy. But I still learned a few things. I was watching Seedorf's workshop, and on one hand, it's kind of a surprise at how similar he was how similar it was. He was designing the cavern to how I design caverns. But at the same time, he had these little techniques that he would do that are different from what I would do, and that actually could save me a bit of time.
Yeah,
it was really good. Workshops. I think it sort of ties in with which, by the way, I love to do a plug. Not a plug, just a beg. DG, you need to bring interviews back. So many veterans broke out of their shells and they're just ready to be interviewed. Oh my God, Seeloff, like, please. That aside, I don't want to embarrass you. But yeah, the workshops were absolutely amazing. Like I was saying, the effect that it had on mid-level modders, people that are already experienced enough, but they still want to learn so much. I remember Detailed Devil, I just love him. And very knowledgeable about scripts and everything, but he was talking about how much he learned from 1 hour watching Vegetto doing a Nifscope workshop. So I think at the end of the day, the legacy of this event is much more geared towards established modders, regardless of mid-level or very advanced or anything. But yeah, so I think in that sense, it's a beautiful thing. I think it was absolutely amazing. Something that hopefully is here to stay.
From my part, what I like about the workshops, there's the whole learning things, but even more than that, and that was my secret agenda, if you wish, the idea of us, modders, aspiring modders, old modders, good modders, bad modders, whatever, us, getting together and sharing a moment, talking about what we enjoy. For me, that was what I enjoyed the most, the us being together. The part about learning how to do things, and we were talking with Hurdrax yesterday, and I think he nailed it there. The part about learning, I think we can achieve that through a recorded video, where they would be the host explaining and somebody talking to them, because it's nicer than talking to yourself, speaking in a microphone. And I know that you like the idea, Herd, because that's yours. I would love to hear from the chat. Would you enjoy watching those workshops, essentially, even if they weren't live? Do you think that you gain much in terms of knowledge watching the workshops? Yes, absolutely.
The reason that I made the point of maybe the workshops being recorded is just, honestly, it was just a response from the veterans, because if those of us that are in the channel, and Danae later maybe share this publicly, I think she already has, but the distinction between a talk, which is pretty much what we're having right now, and a workshop, and the number of absolutely amazing topics that we have for talks, they already cover more than a year. So in the sense, and actually Cyprianus is absolutely right, and in that sense I should mind that. We don't need to put yet another thing on DarkElfGuy's plate, and on Danae's plate, or on anybody else for that matter. So having one event a month, I think, would already be enough. And if the workshops can be recorded according to a presenter's sort of schedule, or it can be you or me or anybody else that can be up there with them doing a co-hosting, that becomes a much more dynamic thing. We can do it in our own time, we can present it to the community, and we can have one live event a month where we have all those topics, which are very interesting in and of itself. Modding ethics, cathedral versus parlor, you know, I forgot the rest of the topics, but there's so much in there. That's why I kind of thought of the idea of maybe having something like No Cascade talking about the CSSC, or Johnny Hostel talking about how do you create an entire environment for vanilla and MWSC on Linux. Things like that, which I think can be served with just recording something and then presenting later.
Yeah, to sum up what we're suggesting is we try once a month to record a workshop, and unlike Mastery Month, where we really try to keep things beginner friendly, not completely beginner friendly, but you know, go over some simple things, because even if you know something, there's always something else you can learn. But these workshops would be once a month recorded. The modders will still be available in Discord, or if we put them on YouTube, in the comments to answer the questions. So any questions that may arise from the workshop will still be answered. And then keep the stage, which is what we have now, for talks with a small panel that may or may not be directly related to modding. Hurdrax mentioned talking about parlor modding and cathedral modding. we had all kinds of interesting talk how using those new modding tools that we have. So basically we'd be splitting the workshop into a pre-recorded workshop that will be available and a chat that would be what it is now, but focused on one topic. How does that sound to you guys? While you're thinking about your answer, I can give you an idea of the topics that we have. We had Blender versus Nifscope versus 3D Max. Just modders talking about their experience modding, mod inspiration, modding and lore, modding with AI, solo modding versus group modding. I talk about MWSC and the development throughout the years, writing in Morrowind, a workshop. I call that a talk, sorry. I call that Dungeons and Dragons and Morrowind frenemies, ? Which could be interesting because inspiration comes from everywhere. So all kinds of things that could be really interesting, I think.
There's actually another point, Danae, that we forgot to bring it up, which I think it's important, which it actually ties in with what Cyprianus wrote in terms of being respectful of each other's time and schedule, which is if we have a workshop once a month and we build up the hype to it, what may happen, like what happened today with Melchior Dark, and it's absolutely not his fault. This is a hobby for all of us. We all have our lives. And generally, the vast majority of us are not exactly teenagers. So what happens if I have Null Cascade scheduled for March? And on that day, something unforeseen happens with the schedule. I think it'll be a little harder to sort of come up with something right there, right? On the fly. And we may end up having situations where we're going to spend maybe 2, sometimes 3 months without any workshop because the person has something unforeseen happen precisely on that day. And on the other side, if we have a recorded workshop, we don't have the problem. We can do it at the person's convenience, when it's convenient for them. If I'm scheduled to interview Noel and he has a problem, all we had to do is change the date. And eventually it goes up, So we can also guarantee content. And Merlord says something. Live streams are also tough for people on the other side of the world, like poor old Merlord. Exactly. I think the schedule is another problem. Exactly right. Massive juice and just, yeah. You beautiful New Zealanders, absolutely. You're 16 hours ahead of myself, for example, now. So yeah, there's that also, the time zone as well. This is why I think recorded workshops, because the topics in there are very deep. Like imagine Random Pal talking about patching, right? I mean, just would be absolutely great. Or
all the workshops that we have lined up. Right. And these are people right at the beginning when I reached out to them in November, talking about the event and say, would you do a workshop? And they were like, yeah, and I can do about this and about that. And in the end, we only had a month and we did 2 workshops a week. And I think that's quite a lot. But we have enough for a year. Yes. Easily. Exactly. Easily. All right. I think we can proceed and we'll do recorded tutorials and then have talks on MMC. My secret hope, it's not secret because I'm telling you, but I would love for the last Saturday of the month to be, the time where you go, that should be the day where we get together on MMC and talk about, modding and Morrowind that we love. It's like not a date. Yeah, it's like a date. You get to hang out with friends that day talking about Morrowind.
Yeah, the talks will be amazing. I'm dying to hear people talk about those topics. Absolutely.
Dega, I remember way back when we did the interview, and you asked me if I thought that modders should do more to get their mods out there. And I remember I said, no, we have the Bethesda forums and it's fine that we share there. We don't have to do more. And shortly after that, the Bethesda forum went down. Sorry, I'm returning the question back to you. Do you think modders should do more to promote their mod? Can we help them? I want to say more than we already do, but basically, what can we do for our community to flourish and become even more beautiful?
Oh, well, definitely. I definitely say there's more that modders can do to promote their mods. I think it's always a good idea just to post your mod onto Reddit. Like our Morrowind. I know that community can be a bit much sometimes with the silly memes and everything, but it's still a good avenue for promoting mods. But likewise, it goes through the Steam forums. People always forget about that, but Steam does have a fairly active forum base that people can post, mod advertisements on if they wanted to. And there are disconnected parts of the Morrowind player community that aren't really aware of everything that's going on in the modding community, and it always helps reach out to that.
Yeah, you bring some very, very good point. Recently, I was speaking with Picosaurus, one of the community managers on Nexus, and in December, they actually completely overhauled their forums, and they're actively trying to, get the forums more active. So it's not the old Bethesda forums, but that could be a place to share, to have an old whip thread on the forum to throw in a few screenshots of what you're doing and see the people react and get hyped, and then you get motivated in turn, which is very, very similar to what we have here with the showcase channel. But here, and that's the other thing that you brought up, we are, as sad as it is, we are isolated. I feel that they are, as you say, they are like bubbles of Morrowind community. We're one. Tamriel Rebuilt is another one. OpenMW is another one. There is a Morrowind Discord also, but we don't really overlap. There's Reddit, and we don't really overlap either. And it's kind of sad that we are little bubbles here and there. Do you think we should? I think we should. So say yes. But how could we not merge those bubbles, but have them overlap a little more?
Well, it's difficult to say really, because those different bubbles, they have. There's different things that appeal to them. Like Murlord was just pointing this out in the chat. Like just posting your mod link to our Morrowind probably won't get much traction. Yeah. But if you post a GIF of your mod, that'll get 1,000 upvotes. So it's about, I guess, you have to kind of craft your message really to pierce those bubbles a wee bit.
Very true.
I have seen more of an overlap between MMC and Tamriel Rebuilt, and that's nice. There's so many modders that contribute significantly to Tamriel Rebuilt, and until very recently, I had no idea they were modders at all, and that's kind of sad.
Then, since we're approaching the end of the first hour, and I don't know how much longer DG and everybody else can stay, and taking advantage of the fact that we have a lot of mentors here on the chat, would it be okay for us to talk about the topic of mentorship as a permanent thing?
Sure.
One of the things that we wanted to ask you guys is, how would you feel with the sort of the mentor role remain active permanently, but in not without the possibility of pinging? You wouldn't be able to be pinged in your mentor role, but it would just be there as a sort of a flag that you are a person that have a certain amount of experience, and that you may be approached with a couple of questions, or for those of you that are willing, something that what I have with Danae, for example, or I've been having with Sealoff, which is they're helping me on a private basis to sort of develop an actual mod, test it, talk about it. Massive Juice is helping me as well with this. Collaborations are sort of springing out of this. Me and Sealoff are going to do a collab for the Modathon, things like that. Would you guys be okay of having the mentor roles permanent in that fashion? But again, very important to stress this, not pinging. So it's not going to be you guys being spammed, okay, mentor script, help me here, because we already have sort of proper channels to ask general questions. So it will be just more like a flag that we can approach you guys, maybe on an individual basis.
I have a question for Kildozeri specifically. Sorry for putting you on the spot. I'm asking that question to you because you have created a good number of threads and a good number of mods in the Menti forum. Did you find the Menti forum more appealing than the forum? We already have a forum where people create a thread and they say, this is my mod and I'm working on that. So really the Menti forum is a duplicate of what we already have. But was it more attractive for you to post in there? In other words, is the Menti forum something worth repeating or keeping, as opposed to simply using the channel that we already have?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
Well, you too, because you used it as well. But I was asking...
Here.
Yeah, I was asking Kildozeri in particular because he's used the Menti forum heavily.
Oh, no. Kildozeri is the king. I mean, this event will be remembered by the Redux series. Absolutely.
Kildozeri, I don't think you have the perms for the mic, so please answer in the chat. I'll see your answer and I'll read it. I promise.
Actually, Null put something in there, Danae, that I think is worth reflecting on. He says, I would prefer it to be pingable. It would be helpful if people can ping mentor MWSC or something for I'm distracted, can help people. So that may be something to consider.
I mean, I don't mind, but we know how people feel about pings and how they get really upset when they get a justified ping and then they go on spamming at everyone. But let's not go back to that. I was considering keeping them pingable. I'm not sure that most mentors would like that. I can remove the ping from them if they don't like it. But we have the mod making channel. There's a channel for scripting, there's a channel for MWSC, there's a channel for models, there's a channel for VFX. These channels are essentially where you go, where you want to find the mentors for each area.
Yeah, Merlord made exactly this point right now. One issue with the Menti forum was I would often be asked questions in my channel that would have been better asked in MWSC, where other MWSC modders would probably have better answers than me.
Yeah, at the same time, I agree. Like, everything we have in the Menti forum is a duplicate of things we already have. At the same time, it did get some use, and I think people felt, I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, people. I think people felt that they would be getting an answer if they go to Merlord's thread, where he said, it's okay to ask me questions, I will answer your questions, rather than drop a question in scripting or MWSC and hope that somebody is around that will read the message, that will have an answer, and that would be willing to answer.
I think in regards with the Menti forum, I honestly think that G7 sort of kind of nailed it. Remember when we were planning things, he were making the point of one of the advantages of an event is sort of the spirit, the vibe around it. It kind of puts everybody in that frame of mind. I think the Menti forum was more positive in a way because pretty much all the mentors were kind of focused on that. So if they got a mentor ping or something like that, or they were checking maybe those out, maybe more, I don't know, I'm speculating here. Probably people during the month they were checking the Menti forums more than they would maybe a general channel. But I think functionally, you guys are right. They serve the same purpose. If it's a general question, it's not like me or Kildozeri, like, this is my project, I would like some help, and then you know that all the conversation in there is about that project, like what had happened with the Redux series.
I think that the main advantage of the Menti forum was the higher probability of somebody seeing what you put there. Whereas the other forum, where there are more threads, more mods, maybe there's going to be a mod by a more prominent modder that people are going to read rather than this one by you and nobody knows you because you haven't done a lot of mods. So as I'm saying that, I think I want to keep the Menti Forum not all year round, but I think it has a purpose, even though it's a duplicate of other things. It has a purpose. It's saying, you know what, right now, this is your chance. We're here for you. We're here for you all year round, but we're even more here for you, I guess.
I'm counting here almost, I think, 4 other people other than me and Kill that posted projects there that they're just not ready to be released right now. But I think they can serve that purpose precisely. You know that forum right there, that channel is for that project specifically. So, yeah. Q says
And
here.
I'm reading the answer. Kildozer is saying that essentially he wouldn't want to annoy or bother people in the general forum with newbie questions. And this is wrong, Kildozeri. This is wrong. Annoy people. There's no level of question to I'm trying to be funny. I'm sorry. You can't see my face. So I was joking. But seriously, it's not a channel where you have to ask smart questions. Only smart questions or high level questions allowed. I think I did say that to Vegeto. He was worried the workshop was going to be too basic, and it was basic. But at some point, the simple questions, even the dumb questions, need to be asked. And they need to be answered. And then they need to be answered multiple times so that it sticks.
And besides Kildozeri, like it boils down to attitude, really. Like you have the best attitude. You've published more than 6 mods during a month, and just go look at the response. And I'm not talking about endorsements and number of downloads. Forget about that. I'm talking about the comment section on the Nexus. How every average person is responding to you. So if a person like you is asking something kind of simple, because the problem I think would be sometimes, Merlord made this joke one day that a junior programmer comes to him and asks him a very basic question, and he says, well, okay, let me Google that for you. Sometimes, yes, you can ask something that a simple Google search would serve you well, but I think in your case, you're exaggerating. You already put in a lot of work, a lot of research. A person looks at your design document, yeah, you're not lazy. I mean, sure, technically if you can Google, but if you open up that door, the information is out there. Look at what these people have done in the past 20 years without Discord, without, the DarkElfGuy's tutorials and Danae. Imagine back in the old days, right? So absolutely. Technically you can search everything online, but I think it's about the attitude, and it just.
And we're going back. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to
I
wrap
was
up
going to say,
this point.
We're going back to the secret agenda of this event is to get us talking together. Discord is great. It's a great tool, but in the end, when you type something, it's like you're sending a bottle in the ocean, hoping that at the time you're typing, there's going to be somebody who's currently looking at that channel, or somebody who will see it and will have an answer for you. And I think it's like making the pool a bit smaller, so your bottles are found. Wow, we're getting very philosophical on that one.
Oh, but that's absolutely vital. To finish up on the point that Kildozeri is making, ask yourself this question. When we're talking about attitude, right? Because now let's flip this and let's see how the veterans, people that have been here, DarkElfGuy, Danae, Merlord, all these guys, these heavy hitters, let's look at how they respond to attitude. Ask yourself this question. Who am I, really? Why am I here? Look to my right, you have Danae. Look to my left, you have DarkElfGuy, 2 absolute legends. And in the middle, a rookie, a nobody from Puerto Country, you know? I'm not Danae's husband. Somebody asked me if I was Melchior's cousin. And I was funny as, I'm sorry, I was going to curse. That was just funny because I'm like, why are they asking? I don't know. I mean, just like kind of new, and you joined the Madness team. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the only way that Melchior can maybe indulge a rookie is if he's related to him. I don't think I am. Like, it's about the attitude, These guys don't fool around. Don't mess around with them because they don't have time for bullcrap. But if you have the right attitude, you put in some work like you did, and this goes for everybody out there that may be listening in the future. I mean, these guys will respond to you. Always. Every single time. They will respond to the attitude more than anything. I don't care if it's Murloc, G7, Null Cascade, we think of all these tacky guys, right? Legends, blah, 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 blah. Not really. If you're a straight shooter and if you can put in some work behind, put your money where your mouth is with effort, I mean, yes. I mean, look at me here. This whole thing happened out of a conversation, and Melchior got together with Danae, Murloc, G7, Lucy, and this whole thing was invented. And they put this event together in a month. It was ready to go. DarkElfGuy already started advertising, helping with this, and so on and so forth. So I hate this notion that the Morrowind modding community is so toxic and they're such gatekeepers. It's like such a crock of bleep, because I don't want to get banned. Because this is the radical opposite. Like, I don't have anything going for me other than attitude, not even skills. And yet, I am doing a collab with the mighty Sealoth. Can you imagine that, right? Wow. It's about attitude, really.
Everyone starts somewhere. That's what Mel is saying, and it's true.
Right.
Like when we were talking with Hurd and Sealoth, I think, and I did a flex, and I was like, yeah, I needed a dungeon for my mod, and so I asked Sealoth, and he was kind enough to do it. It was not really a flex because, and I'm not saying go send DM to Sealoth and ask for a dungeon. That is not what I'm saying, guys. But I'm saying, if you start talking to people, then things will happen. And if you don't talk to them, they won't happen. And maybe they'll tell you, I don't have time. And maybe they'll tell you, no, not right now. But Nell is making a joke that I would never DM modders asking for something. Wouldn't happen. It's come to the point that when I have something to send to Null Cascade or Murloc, I start with, this is not a request, to make sure they read on. Because I've had so many requests over the years. But yeah, get talking, guys.
Yeah, so many times.
Worst thing that happens, people don't have time or are not in the mood to mod, and maybe they'll get back to you later and say, hey, you talked about that. Well, how about now?
Right. This whole attitude that because it's just a hobby, I'm not saying that anybody here right now is making this point because we don't have that, but this whole attitude of because it's just a hobby, I'm going to be casual about this. I mean, not at all. All these modders, I mean, Sector here was actually, he's kind of like my private teacher when it comes to programming, and he's starting me on scripting and everything. And he was just showing me a Murloc script. And he was just saying, look at this. This is just so beautiful. And I started studying what Murloc is doing. I'm at a point where I'm starting to understand, and I get the point that is beautiful. But for now, it's like watching a naked woman riddled with tattoos that I don't know what's written in that body. I can recognize that the body is beautiful, but I don't know what's written in there. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, and when we were talking about attitude, and I was mentioning Murloc and the casual side of things, is if you take a look, for example, at Johnny Hostile, Modding OpenMW website, do yourself a favor, go to the bottom and click on the statistics, because you will find people in there downloading and playing Morrowind from countries ravaged by war. I'm not being dramatic or exaggerating or anything. This is just hard fact. People from literally, I mean, it's like what, Johnny? More than 135 different countries actively playing this game every month, right? I'm talking Syria. I'm talking Saudi Arabia, so it's amazing. The power of this hobby is just, and especially this particular community right here, it's just the most beautiful thing, Absolutely. We should put in effort. I mean, when Danae is doing something, she's a pro, She runs a tight ship,
I appreciate the compliments. I really do. But I am seriously becoming very self-conscious about my mods now. I was working on the quest for the mod-along challenge, and I was like, oh my god, but Hurdrax has been telling people that I'm a veteran and it's so beautiful, and I'm like, I can't make a stupid mistake in there. I'm gonna lose all the credibility that Hurdrax has been building up for me.
Absolutely deserved. What? I mean, absolutely deserved. I mean, everybody keeps saying that I'm a cheerleader. Well, I'll wear the hat. But honestly, I mean, I think I'm just stating facts. Right. I mean, it's like calling Abbott the GOAT. That guy is the GOAT in terms of fortitude and perseverance. More than 20 years at this, still engaging, still talking to people. And even though I'm an OpenMW user, sometimes I just want to kill people that use OpenMW. Go to his page. Oh, is it compatible with OpenMW? All that he didn't do is put a gift with neon lights and again a naked woman saying not compatible, but the guy is still answering questions, engaging. It's like I joke around, paraphrasing Robin Williams. The world will end and we'll have a couple of cockroaches, Keith Richards smoking a cigarette, and Abbott just releasing another patch for one of his mods. Absolutely. That guy is indestructible. Same goes for DarkElfGuy here.
Quite an image.
Right, but all of you, DarkElfGuy, I always remember years ago watching DG back when I was just a lurker. And Skyrim came about, right? Remember the hype when Skyrim came about? The original hype? And what did DarkElfGuy do?
You mean before people played the game?
No, right. But I mean, even with the controversy and everything and blah, 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 go right now to DG's page and go back in time. He stayed loyal. He was just doing Morrowind content. The guy is a stone cold Morrowind fan, and that's what he does. Doesn't give a damn about hype. He could snap his fingers, just sled around, do a couple of hot games or hot topics, and just explode his channel. Stays loyal. Again, attitude reflects leadership. There's a reason why this is a small community, but we are very, very loyal to each other, and I love it. I think we should say these things more often to each other. Absolutely.
Actually, Dag, is that something you've been tempted to do, to sort of broaden the content of the channel? I remember there were a couple of Oblivion things. Have you been tempted to take a look at Skyrim, to take a look at Daggerfall Unity that also has mods, or is Morrowind enough?
Well, you know, I have dabbled in a few other videos occasionally. Someone who takes a really close look at the channel will find a single Skyrim video from 2016. It was a pilot episode that never went anywhere, but there is one. But yes, I did used to do Oblivion videos as well. I haven't done that in a while because my priority is Morrowind. And I do feel bad because the Oblivion modding community doesn't really have a mod showcasing channel, and there's a lot of really talented work in that community that is going, for the most part, completely under the radar. And I do think that's a shame, because if nothing else, Oblivion has decent potential as a modding platform. I mean, you can say what you want about the base game, but it has the tools, good modding tools, that have allowed for some really interesting and amazing creative creations.
Very true.
So what do we do to make sure that Morrowind is not the next Oblivion?
I think that's pretty unlikely at this stage. Anyway, I mean, like, we have so many different things that the Oblivion community doesn't have. We have OpenMW, we have MWC, we have MGXC, and we've got multiple YouTube channels promoting it. It's not just me. There's you, there's Warlock Racy, and Borean Knights, and tons of YouTubers that still cover Morrowind.
Verayax is doing a new series of Iron Man runs. Very fun, also, that I would recommend. So yeah, there are a lot of channels, and we just have to keep on modding. I think, I don't know how long it's been, but maybe it's been quite a while, and I see people talking in the chat. Guys, if you have questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, now is the time to share them, because then at some point we will stop talking, and we won't be live for another month for another talk. So express yourself now, or be silent for a month is what I'm saying.
But yeah, I think we covered pretty much, especially taking advantage of the mentors here, right, Danae? We covered the permanent one-on-one mentorship availability, and that's good that people are willing to do that. We covered the roles, the forums, one-on-one challenge, one-on-one mentorship, Mastery Month. We talked about the Modathon. Yeah.
Yeah, we've covered most of everything. What is the deadline for the first mod? There, Eldax, really, feel free to publish your mod next week, the week after, and put the Mastery Month logo. Go for it. It's not a competition. I would rather you publish your mod in a month than not at all, because you missed the deadline. Also, the second part of your question, so Deg will look at it. Deg is looking at the mods non-stop, and he's making as many videos as he can do, and whether he'll pick up your mod to make a showcase or not is not about when you publish it. So, go ahead and publish your mod when you're ready for it. Yes, Verayax has a new series doing Iron Man. Publish mod that are your favorites and the one you're most proud about, assuming they're the same. Yes, I want to go back to the interviews and you, DarkElfGuy. Realistically, could you bring the interviews back?
Well, I don't really think I'm the right person to bring them back, I'm not a very charismatic fellow, really, when you get right down to it, and I'm not really a professional interview. I think Hurdrax, I listened to the Sealoft video, I think he would do a fantastic job as an interviewer.
As
In
long
that
as we
case,
can-
No, go ahead, Hurt.
I was just going to say, as long as you can publish on either your channel or Danae's, then I will be absolutely up to do that. I just don't
Sorry, I'll say my point quickly. I was going to say and ask DarkElfGuy if Hurdrax or myself, or actually anyone else who wants to do that, if we did the interviews, could they then be uploaded on MMS?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd even be happy to do record some video footage to use as backgrounds for them. It's just I'm not that great at the whole, conversational side of things.
Beautiful. Okay. I think
Good to know.
I think
yes,
Danae,
go on.
the vibe is here so good right now that I honestly think we can share with the rest of the veterans here our 2090 thing, because it would be so appropriate. Because I think this whole thing is about a cathedral mentality, right? DG, and also you're going to be invaluable for this, but there's another project that Metro Dark and Danae and I have been cooking in the side. Because in my youth I worked as, actually you mentioned, as an interviewer doing research projects in the sort of the countryside of Brazil, isolated communities. I worked with oral history for a long time. So preserving lost cultures and smaller cultures and their own customs and everything. And we were talking about oral history and how we lost Emma, for example, and Quirt, rest his soul, and people that are gone for one reason or another, and they took all their knowledge with them, right? And Melchior and I were talking about G7 and how that man is an absolute oak tree of knowledge. No mention Hermchant, no Cascade himself, Murlord, and so on and so forth. And the idea came, but it just reeks of 2090 because of syncing the schedules, which would be to sort of, throughout a number of interviews, but with a script, sort of trying to preserve the veterans' knowledge in a more sort of friendlier way, that it could be transformed in the future into an actual wiki. Just a Morrowind, a Stone Cold Morrowind modding wiki, right? Where you could have more updated information, and we could use more up-to-date tools in terms of websites of just showing not only 3D models and images and videos and etc. And what I said to them, and especially after Mastery Month, and this is why I'm making this public, people like Sealoft, Random Pal, and Massive Juice, just to take 3 examples of people that did it for the first time, and it was
Vegeto as well,
and it was just so good that I kind of wanted to sort of wait to see how the community responded to that, because now I think, Danae, honestly, and we can talk about this publicly, This took a completely different sort of, I think, path, really. There's just so many people producing content that it will be so much easier to sort of consolidate that later on. Because the original idea was for me to interview somebody like G7, preserve all his knowledge, do the same with Mirlord, having a script, having something to guide, and take that information, do a whole transcript of it, and published not only a video that would be Creative Commons, it would be public use, people can take it, edit, and whatever, but the transcript will be also Creative Commons, that everybody can take that and adapt and edit, and that would be the basis for the wiki. Then it was explained to me how historically you guys always wanted to have a sort of wiki, but it's kind of hard to take the first step and consolidate all of the information. I honestly think after Mastery Month, this became much, much closer to becoming a reality. Wouldn't you say, Danae?
Yeah, and when we were talking, the fact is the information, or most of the information, is out there. Now,
Yes.
Google, we were joking about Google, it's not that easy, but if you want to, if you know what you're looking for and you take the time to go through the Tamriel Rebuilt documentation, the old forums where there are like whole threads of how to do dialogues in Morrowind, and I was at the time where really modders were figuring things out, but there's still so much information there. If you go through just the troubleshooting channel here, so many questions are answered, things are explained, sometimes multiple times. Like, the information is out there. If we're able to solidify all of that, maybe not all of that, but most of it with a tool, a format that is easily searchable, it would be amazing. And that also means that in the troubleshooting channel, rather than typing the same answer again and again, we can simply point to a particular entry and there it is. And we were discussing with Hurdrax, we want to try and cater to all not the learning styles, but some people will prefer to read something, some people will prefer a video, some people will prefer, I think it's just that. Actually, no, some people will prefer to talk to somebody. That's something that happened not as much as I hope during Mastery Month, but I really think that if people are willing to talk, you can explain so much in 10 minutes sharing your screen that you would have to type for a whole hour, going back and forth, taking a screenshot, posting it. It would take forever in the forum. So recorded interviews are another way to learn, indeed.
Yeah, that's what Mirlord said is absolutely true. Maintaining up-to-date documentation is a near impossible task, but capturing knowledge is a great first step. And that's actually, Mirlord, was the spirit behind this whole idea, because originally for me, and I know that there are a lot of you out there that can tell the same story, ground zero in terms of getting excited and having something actually useful was DarkElfGuy's tutorial videos and Danae's tutorial videos, because it has a script. And even though both of them have radically different styles, Danae does something very short to the point, and DarkElfGuy just fires the record button and goes for 3 hours. But he has a script there, even if he's doing like by instinct. And in the written version of that, I would honestly say, is the wiki of Tamriel Rebuilt. But the thing with Tamriel Rebuilt, and they're not doing anything wrong, but they are doing their own thing. There is a reason for all of the guidelines that they have. So there is a lot of information out there that, especially for a novice, if they are not careful, when they're reading about restrictions when it comes to dialogue, for example, those restrictions are stylistic. They're not technical. You can have a character express his own opinion on a response. Technically, you can. We don't need to hide from people how would you achieve that, even though it may be a breach of style or anything. That's why we were thinking about a wiki that has the same flavor and the same taste as a DEG video series, as a Danae video series, but also sort of has a little bit of a script. If you go to the Tamriel guidelines, they take you through a journey. It's not like a classic wiki where you just have all the information there, and like Mirlord remembered, sometimes you don't even know how to Google things. So having an actual script, sort of like a teacher guiding you, hierarchically through the content, is very useful. And with the tools that we have nowadays, I think we can build this. And the fact that more and more people of you are excited about producing content, that's what I think is the best news, because it's going to be that much more easier to sort of consolidate that information, you know.
As Merlot is saying, that maintaining up-to-date documentation is near impossible. And I think it's funny that we keep getting new information, new tools, new techniques to mod a 20-year-old game. You'd think we're done with it. Like, we know what there is to know. But
Right.
it's true. If, like, the CSSE little feature that I did I don't remember when, last year, is already obsolete. Can you imagine that?
Right.
There's new things all the time, but an attempt to gather the information we have, especially the up-to-date information, in one place, in a format that is easily searchable, is one of the goals, 2090 goals that we have. With Hurdrax doing the heavy lifting, to be honest.
Noel made a very important point that is absolutely worth addressing. He says, one downside, updating videos is time consuming and difficult. Updating text wiki is easy. If G7 makes a new modeling feature, I would hate to see you have to redo the videos. To that point, Noel, what we were thinking is that, for example, I'm developing something with Melchior Dark. We have done, I want to say 3-4 sessions of interviews with me and him, and he's just walking me through every single topic, every single button, every single tab of the construction set, CSSE. And the point there is not to exhaust all of the topics, but the very first video is just going to be a broad presentation of everything that you have in there. And it sort of becomes like a roadmap of themes, of topics, where we can then go deeper and make other videos. Let's say, for example, that a certain portion becomes outdated. Technology became such a thing that I have so far, I want to say 6 hours of transcripted material of me talking to him, that they are transcribed automatically, and just correcting that is kind of easy. So all of the videos that I'm assembling, I'm already as far as 2 hours in. They are so well documented, and they are chopped in such an effective way that it's just literally me saying, okay, minute 24 until minute 27, I need to change that. And now with YouTube, you can actually do those kind of changes and upload in that same link. I can sort of change the video. But even if I had, for the sake of argument, to take those videos down and upload something new, I don't really care much about views. Because another thing that G7 was making a point is how useful for you veterans would be to have actual links that whenever somebody asks a question, instead of you having to write the whole thing down, you can point them to a precise source. And the thing about timestamping nowadays is become so effective that I can just link with a timestamp mark in there. So the way that I'm organizing these things, you have this master document where you can do a Control F and you can do for example, a keyword search in there. And then you find what you want, modeling, for example, or textures, whatever. And then it'll take you to the precise timestamp. All you have to do is click on that and it'll take you to the video. So it doesn't matter if it's 8 hours long. With a proper master list keyworded properly, you can just do this whole thing. And you guys can just find what you want, click on the timestamp, just share it. But you're right, it's going to be a lot of work. And I still want to allow myself at least a full year as a cycle of learning a little bit more, getting together with the veterans, consolidating the information, and maybe next year we may have something to start. But I think at the end of the day, the videos is just raw material for the wiki. By the time we get a wiki going, I think the videos may not even be necessary anymore. It just may become a thing where if there is a very particular topic that is useful to have and take advantage of all the, like somebody mentioned, like watching somebody, I think it was you that said that watching someone fiddle with a CS is huge inspiration. We'll preserve that. But other than that...
No said that, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I think the wiki is the final goal. And it will be like a zero vanity project. I don't care about the videos becoming popular because those will be purely research material. If they become obsolete, they go down. No problem at all. But I think we have to iron out a lot of details. But yeah, I just wanted to share this because you guys were amazing again. The mentors did everything for us. I'm extremely grateful yet again.
How did the conversation that started this come about? Because whatever it was we need to do, a lot more of it either our call and the result from them. I think I was talking with MD, right?
How did the conversation that started this came about? It came about, Kildozuri, because we were a little bummed out about how shy some people were. We were kind of shocked when I joined the Madness team because I learned, I didn't know this, but rookies joining the Madness projects is not a very common thing to happen, right? And just so you have an idea, I replaced nobody other than the Professor Armitage, which he's here right now. The absolute legend, and I'm not paying him a compliment, I'm stating a fact. The man is an encyclopedia of knowledge. But he had personal issues and he couldn't be a part of the team, schedules and everything. And just seeing his name being stricken down in mine next to him, like I was shaking in my boots. And I think people saw that. And they started just, for some reason, asking me private questions. You know, I was approached by a 75-year-old man, the most beautiful guy in the whole world. Very self-conscious about wanting to start modding and whatever. So this whole thing kind of started a conversation between me and Melchior. And he was laughing about the fact that so many people are afraid of asking him questions. And I kept teasing him, it's your goddamn forum handle. This ugly leech and Melchior Dark is like my brother from another mother here. This guy has the most inept name in the history of the internet, Johnny Hostile. This guy is anything but. If he would have an appropriate forum handle, it would be Care Bear Cutie Guy 89 or something. I'm just kidding around, but yeah.
Petition for Johnny to change his name.
Oh my God. I mean, but Ground Zero...
At least the avatar. Please, Johnny, at least the avatar. Have a Care Bear for a couple of weeks.
But Ground Zero, Kildozuri, yeah, was just a number of people approaching me. I don't know. I mean, I think because I'm a rookie and they saw me up there with the big ones, they sort of felt comfortable and they started asking me all these questions. And it came to a point where I had 7 people asking me to ask Melchior a question. And I like, well, this is a little bit too much. And we started talking, and then that's how the whole thing sort of came about. I mean, it was, but I remember joking around with the guys, and when we started having a group chat to talk about these things, we're not social workers, right? And psychologists. There's a certain level of shyness and feeling of self-consciousness that there's only so much we can do, right? I mean, eventually a person is going to have the courage to go public at a certain point. And you're going to be exposed to some degree if you're doing something like modding, right? You can just be very discreet and just publish your own thing in the Nexus, but that alone is a form of exposure. So I think at the end of the day, there's only so much we can do for people that are, I don't know, afraid, you know, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was a shyness that started the whole thing, and people asking me to ask Melchior questions. That was a funny moment at the end of Madness. Oh, Professor Never.
That's a big no, Prof. But Kill sums it up. The bottom line is, let's talk to each other a lot more.
Oh yes.
That's
Amen.
That's really it to that. And talk about the mods that you want to make, and chances are, especially if the attitude is right, chances are somebody is going to give you advice, and just talk. Okay, that's let's sum it up. Let's talk. Also, very seriously, whenever there's an event that's being organized, even if it's me or someone else, I reach out to a lot of people, the people that I think I know would be interested. I can't possibly reach out to all the people who could potentially be interested. Please, if there's something you want to do, if you have an idea of what to do, send me a message. We'll talk, okay?
Yeah.
We'll talk. It sounds a bit threatening. I'm smiling right now. You can't tell, but...
I'm going to end up with this, Kildozuri. Anytime that somebody is talking about shyness, just do what I'm doing, and I've been doing that. Take the last video that DEG did, the last interview actually, And it was with the legendary Rubberman, which is absolutely my hero. It will be a privilege to talk to him one of these days. That interview, honestly, there is a nuance there about just life lessons, especially for younger people. If you haven't watched it, just go watch it. Last interview of the DEG series, him and a couple of British people, irony all over the place, couldn't be better, just so good. And Rubberman just goes off, starts talking about life, but everything in relation to modding as well, of course. But it was just, yeah, I've been sending those links a lot, and some people are getting actually back to me saying, yeah, he has a good point. So yeah, Rubberman for president, absolutely.
DarkElfGuy, we've been talking a lot. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to add to the conversation?
No, I don't really have anything to add.
Well, in that case, chat. I guess we can wrap it up. It's been an hour and a half. That's good. We'll be in touch for the tutorial/workshop, the talk. If you have ideas of things that would be great to talk about, if there are things you would like to talk about, talk to me. Okay. Hurdrax, would you like to have the final word? I think it would be fitting.
Oh, no. Nobody other than the matriarch has to have the final word. Madam, please. No.
I'm not.
Yours is the last voice that we should hear in this event. You did everything. I'm not joking. Guys, what this woman did during this month, I'm talking, well, you all know her, right? This is Danae. This is the matriarch. What else? Right?
Yeah, I'm not good at speeches. So here's what I'm going to say. DarkElfGuys, thank you for joining us. It was very last minute, and I so appreciate that you hopped on and joined us. To all the mentors, thank you so much for taking part. To all the mentees, whether you were just lurking in the workshop or just lurking in the channels, go for it. Mod. What's the worst that can happen? You make a mod. That's not the worst. That's great. And even if the mod sucked, then the next one would be better. As a little exercise, go and try to find the first mod of your favorite modder, and and have a good laugh at the stuff that we did back in the days. Not everybody's first mod was a hot fire like Hurdrax here. Hurd, thank you so much for being the source of that, for helping me throughout. We've been talking a lot to put things together, and I think we'll be back for another Mastery Month next year, probably. Yeah. Until then, get modding, get ready for the main modathon. You can start modding right now. If there's another event in between, it will be there. Please, if you want to know about the events, talk to me or any of the ordinators about getting the Awaken tag role, so you know about those. And that's it. That was my beautiful speech. It was terrible. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Have a good day, night, morning, whatever time it is. DarkElfGuy, once again, thank you so much. Hurdrax, I'll talk to you soon. Chat, I'll talk to you soon. We're here. Let's talk.